All right, well, this wasn't a one-off tweet. This wasn't a mistake by the Washington Post. In fact, today the narrative from these same so-called journalists is saying, actually, there was no audio on the stream President Trump watched live, so how could he know that Baghdadi was whimpering and crying? He's exaggerating, and he didn't die as a coward because he ultimately blew himself up. Baghdadi did.
No, I mean, the coverage of this has been ridiculous, and what the media really has done here, and what they've been trying to do is there, it's almost as if it's propaganda now for the Democratic Party, and the things that they're trying to do is twofold. One, you have to remember that there's an impeachment inquiry going here, and they can't have Donald Trump have any victories, okay? Because this is based off of polls. If Donald Trump has an uptick in polls, the impeachment inquiry will start to falter. That's why Nancy Pelosi, just a few hours ago, announced that they're going to try to run a vote now on an actual impeachment inquiry next week. So look, they're starting to feel the pressure. They know that this is going to help Trump in the polls, and that's a problem. And number two, you have to remember where ISIS came from. This is Barack Obama's doing when he just decided one day, hey, you know what? It's over in Iraq. We're just going to take our troops home. Doesn't matter about the mission or anything else. He left a huge vacuum, and ISIS filled the void. And you had this group that was selling, killing Christians, slaughtering Christians, selling women and children into sex slavery, killing Americans. It was disgusting. It's despicable. For the media to do this shows that they are bereft of any sort of principle. And the only thing they care about is propaganda. It's very embarrassing. I'm embarrassed again to call myself a journalist.
Right. Well, it's certainly, the only positive, the only silver lining from the despicable coverage is there should be no question in the minds of any American whether or not the mainstream media is honest or whether they're dishonest and biased. You can see it for yourself. If you eulogize a terrorist in nicer terms than you talk about the President of the United States simply because the President of the United States is a Republican, then you are not an honest person. And if your organization, your news organization, allows you to publish that kind of drivel under their name, then they are not an honest organization. And the American people can look. They don't have to take your word for it or my word for it. They don't have to take the Democrats' denial of that. They can determine that from themselves by all of the coverage this weekend.
Yeah, and what they don't really realize is, this victory that was for all Americans, the Republicans, Democrats, they turned it around and made it a huge victory just for Trump. They go after, they call this murderer, this human cockroach, an austere religious scholar. The American people see this and they see, look, they're just out to get Donald Trump, and they don't like it. And then you see at the Nationals game, at the World Series, chanting, lock him up, lock him up. The American people are watching this. And now they're looking at a media that's running cover for the Democrats that are running this, what they call an impeachment inquiry. It's impeachment proceedings. God only knows what to call it. And they're saying, these aren't honest operators. You can't get this past the American people. They see this every minute. So when they see it, it's a spectacle. It's a joke.
Right.
So, they turned what was a huge victory for America as a whole and made it into largely a victory for Donald Trump.